Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the series of verbal reasoning sessions. Today, we are going to cover the last video, which covers the topic of analogies and types. Analogies is a very interesting topic, but very painful if it is asked from off domains or you're confused during the exam. So I'm sure that this video is going to help you understand the nuances of what are analogies, what are the types of analogies, because if you put a question in this correct category, I think we can just find out what is the relevant answer to it. So we're going to understand the three segments of the video today. We're going to understand what are analogies, how to read them, what are the classification. I've classified them in terms of 15 major classifications, but then we can have some 16, sometimes even 18 and 20 if you look at country, currency, and so on and so forth, which I've incorporated in the video later. But overall, the really troubling classification or the really troubling questions that are set up is with 15 analogies. So that we are going to do today, and then we're going to solve some questions that I've already given you as a pre-exercise test, some 18 questions from the sheet. So without much ado, let's get started with the video, and I hope you will learn and find value in this session upon understanding the analogies and their type. So analogy is just a word given for a comparison between one thing with the other, typically for the purpose and explanation of clarification. It is usually with respect to the correspondence or partial similarities, a thing which is comparable or to something else in significant respects, one respect to the other. So we use analogies in terms of as an English word, it means this, and therefore the application of analogy goes up with understanding the relationship between one pair of words, which helps inform the same relationship with the second pair, and therefore the analogy shows similarities of things in common between two pairs of words that are given to us. It is why it is asked. I believe it's a just good test of general awareness and general knowledge for the aspirants. So how do you read an analogy? I'm sure many of you might know this, but to those who do not, I'm just quickly briefing you up. Annoy is to irritate. So this first dot is read as is to irritate. As, so these two dots is read to as dusk is to twilight. So I have to find the interrelationship between this pair and mimic the same with respect to the other pair. So usually any of the one pair will be given as a question mark. So you have to just find a similarity between these two pairs, and that is how analogies as a question is set up. Now the most important question comes ahead of us is, how do we classify? I'm sure that while solving the sheet, if you have solved it previously, you would have struggled through certain questions where you might think more than one option is correct, even sometimes more than two options are correct, because it all depends how am I constructing a sentence. So I'm going to later on also decipher the one unique technique which which helps you eliminate the options and eliminate most of the options, and therefore defines that whatever I'm thinking is thinking correctly, or that is the most obvious thought on which this question has been framed. So stay tuned for it. I think the types of analogy we've all understood as the basic ones are like synonyms, antonyms, characteristics of things, part or a whole, degree, type, tool, action, item, purpose, which I have further classified in my video today, which is upon understanding the four major types that I have classified. There are three word types. There are 7 object type, which is the most confusing one. So 7 and 3 is 10. There are 3 causal types, so 13, and then 1 or 2 kind of a degree one, which is the 14 or the 15 kind I was talking about. So we can understand them in it. I think in vocabulary class also, if you watch the video, I have stressed upon that word analogy or word type analogies are mostly from the vocabulary section. So they are from synonyms, antonyms, verbs and rhymes. So basically let's look at them. Word type, let's look at the 4 variations of the word type. Synonyms, analogies, I believe I know you know the meaning of the word synonyms is a similar meaning word. So it's a word knowledge and factual content. Word knowledge questions generally the pairs of synonyms as a pair of antonyms, like tardy is to what, then if there is a liberal and generous is synonym to each other, so tardy will be clumsy or agile. I think it's definitely going to be clumsy, because tardy is something that is sluggish or something who's not punctual, so clumsy will go as a better synonym of it. So synonym pair. Antonym, these are exactly the word says, the type of analogies. These are opposite meaning things. And these may seem simple and easy recognizable if you have a command over vocabulary. So elucidate and distort are the antonym of it. So elucidate means to explain properly, while distort means to disturb it. So I am looking for tidy, and the antonym of tidy will definitely become clutter and not groomed. Groomed will become the synonym of it. So I think first two kind of analogies were word type with synonyms and antonyms. Then we have verb and tenses, which is also from irregular and regular verbs, which I'm sure I will cover in my grammar session. So what is an irregular verb, what is definite verb, what is finite verbs, and so on and so forth. I think I will cover a video separately on verbs and their classifications of it. So rest assured, if you're just finding it complex to understand what is irregular verb and what do I mean by it. So I think in this I've taken a very simple one, that like walk and walked. So it's a regular verb, and we create a past tense by adding ed, while in an irregular verb we do not use past tense. So it's an irregular verb for same as eat and ate. Similarly, send and sent, etc. So verb and tenses, regular, irregular verbs, they can give. And then rhyming schemes, okay, analogies or syllabic rhymes. Like, so rhyme not only comes in a lot of different variations and is used sometimes as word analogies. Keep in mind that not only the standard perfect rhymes can be used, but also the other type like syllabic rhyme or half rhyme can be encountered. We're not going to discuss all the possible types of rhyme because you can just have a separate session for it, but you can just Google it out, like what is half syllable, full syllables. If you have basic knowledge, I believe you can do it. Rest assured, nobody's going to give you a very, very complex question on analogies. Analogies is still pose a normal challenge. So if you just go through a glimpse of this and think that, okay, if it's a word kind, I just make it in terms of rhyme. So it is half rhyming or full rhyming. I believe that is what you can be just fine with. So figures of speech like alliteration and assonance can be frequently asked. What is alliteration? The repetition of a consonant sound, and assonance is the repetition of a vowel sound. So like deer, steer is assonance, right? Because the half syllable is being stressed. Red, bed, again, the assonance because the vowel sound is stressed. Glasses, Moses is a alliteration because you're repeating the consonant sound, the S sound. Seashells, again the consonant sound. Wow, now, so again the consonant sound. So alliterative or assonance can be asked, though very easy to recognize, and I think they will not become a problem. Moving to the next type, the object relationship. Now these are the very conflicting or the confusing ones, so let's understand them in detail. What are the 7 types which are object classifications? So number 1, objects in classification analogies. They can be given a classification of the group of objects which they belong. Most objects can be classified to several kinds of group. Like for example, a knife may be classified as a kitchenware or as a weapon. However, in these cases, when you're confused where to put it, try to go for the primary purpose or main reflection of it, or majority of the time what is the usage. Okay, in a general sense, not an exceptional sense. Okay, this can provide multiple correct solutions. Thus, in object related objects, we must always make sentence in such a way that it helps us eliminate most of the option choices. So that's what I was talking about, that if you try to create a perfect sentence which will help you eliminate, not connect more options, try and construct a sentence which will help you eliminate. So stay tuned, I'm going to apply this technique to certain very complicated questions of the sheet that you might have struggled with. So try and understand and listen to my sentences that I've created, which will help us eliminate the most choices, not agree to the most choices. So I construct a sentence in which such a way that filters the incorrect choices are. So most analogies test you multiple choice, so doing so will reduce your answer choice to 1 correct classification. For example, kitchen and kitchenware, knife and weapon. Red is primarily a color, pants is primarily a clothing. So I'll try to make a sentence like this, that knife is primarily used as a kitchenware, knife is sometimes used as a weapon, or criminal use of a knife is weapon, like this. So try and construct a sentences this way, because red is primarily a color, but red can be associated with beauty, anger, etc., etc. So try object classification whenever you are looking at which groups they belong. Try to go for the primary or the major usage of it. Then objects and related objects. As shown in the words mentioned, they are all related and one on the other in the same way. The related objects is an object and related object analogy. It's an obvious relation that we have. However, an object is not inseparably intertwined with one another. For example, a knife and fork are like separable. The objects in this analogy type have a relation to one another which is kind of inseparable. So try to correct the relation should be determined by looking at the concerning question and answer, like cat and kitten, plant and seed is inseparable part of it, but knife and fork is separable part. Dog and puppy, you can also understand this analogy, dog and puppy, cat and kitten, as animals and their infants. That's another thing that I've covered in the video later on. But again, objects and relations like plant and seed is something that we need to keep in mind. That is an inseparable connection. So separable connection is objects that go together, that I've covered in the 7th one. Objects and group of analogies, I think collective nouns. Okay, so learn some collective nouns. I think they can just check your knowledge, like what about crow? So if you do not know, it's actually known as murder. Yeah, don't be surprised, it's known as murder of crow. So there are a lot of crows sitting. The collective noun of the term given to a collection of crows is murder. Similarly to the collection of owls is given as parliament. So interesting fun facts. I think this is a swarm of bees, a wolf, the pack of wolves, the forest, seagull, the flocks of seagull, etc. So just learn certain collective nouns basically, and the important ones. I think then you'd be on your way. Objects and the part of a whole. Now, objects, be careful. Do not confuse this type with object and group analogy. It is described above. The difference derives from the fact that the object and a part of a whole is the object is not automatically the whole when lots of objects are brought together. For example, glass and window match the description of object and part of whole, but glass could not just easily match with light bulb. So the glass will only be a light bulb if you process it in a certain way. So these are objects which are not the whole part of it. For example, brick, a lot of bricks automatically is going to cover a wall. A lot of glasses are obviously going to make a window, but glass can be used as a bulb as well. A lot of pages is going to be automatically connected into a book. Objects and function analogies. So objects have most designated functions which are inseparably connected to the concerning objects. Like for example, you use a keyboard for majorly typing. So I can use a keyboard to hit somebody as well, but that's not the designated function of it. We use telephone for calling. I use telephone for any other uses as well, to keep as a paperweight. But I think if telephone has a designated function as calling. So these relations can be used in as analogies to test your problems. However, you must keep in mind that in case of multiplicity of usage, the role on the function on the most primary or the most obvious function, as I said, the most designated function should be addressed. For example, like knife is supposed to cut, not to murder. I mean, life is the major designated function is to cut. So people misuse it to cut the body. So that creates a murder or internal organs. I mean, in a jovial part. I don't know. I should not make fun of murder, but I hope you're understanding the content in the most designated way. I've chosen probably a wrong example or a wrong object, I believe, but doesn't matter. Keyboard type, telephones call, paintbrush, paint. So I think that is what the object and function analogies stands for. Then object and their location analogies, where the object is designated to be, and what is a designated place of that particular object. For example, the relation of objects and designated to their most logical location. This is not always strictly defined as, for example, a tree can be in forest, but a tree can easily be at your park. So you have to find the correct answer again by carefully analyzing the analogy problem and its possible solutions. And again, as I said, create a sentence in such a manner which helps you eliminate the more choices, not agree. For example, a plane is primarily found in hangar. A plane can be found at other places as well. For example, let's say Ambani's XYZ thing. But a plane's designated place is to be in hangar. A dog can be on the sofa as well, but a dog's designated place is a doghouse. A tree belongs to therefore a forest or a park, but a designated natural nature concern with forest. And the last one, as I say, objects that go together, they are separable entities. Do not confuse them with the objects in related, because these were inseparable. Okay, like plant and seed, inseparable. Plant, seed grows into plant. But these are objects that go together. These are sets. Some objects for like salt and pepper are indisputably connected to each other. These set or pairs of objects are frequently used in modern verbal analogies. Example, salt, pepper, statue, socket, fork and knife. Some interesting pairs can be, I just looked at it, gin and tonic, shoes and socks, fish and chips, hammer and nails, hat and coat, sugar and spice, and not salt. So up and down, soap and water, crimson and clover, ebb and flow, bow and arrow, etc. So you can just Google out objects that go together. But I think the objects and their function is the 7 analogies which are most conflicting to each other. So please watch this video again, just revise it. The 7 types are the most confusing ones. Causal are easy. So there are 2 causal, cause and effect. The similarity is derived in this cause on the other side and indisputably connected to the effect on the other side. For example, from spinning you will get dizzy. From fire you will get burnt. Be careful not to mix this analogy with effort and result, which is the next one, which is discussed below. So since for the cause and effect analogy type, you should have to understand that we do not have to put extra effort to obtain the result. If you spin, you'll go dizzy, whether you like it or not. And the side effect of spinning since. So you're not likely to spin just because you become dizzy, right? So spin, dizzy, fire, it's not likely that you want to burn and therefore you put the, so fire automatically burns. You can just add the word in your sentence as spinning automatically makes you dizzy. Reading is automatically done to learn, or reading automatically makes you learn it, etc. However, causal has the second one, which is you need to put effort and get the result. So I to not to create a confusion, this is causal, this is cause and effect, but this is effort and result. A difference between this analogy is cause and effect type. This is explained above. Is the fact that for the effort and result connection, the actual effort has to be made. It's not the cause for it. It's not the automatic cause. If you put your hand in fire, you will burn without effort. A painting, on the contrary, has to be painted, and a painting is an effort by somebody that has to be performed to be made in a certain way. So paint with effort becomes a painting. The house with an effort, the effort is built. So if you build a house, so with an effort you write a letter, and so on and so forth. So try to understand the causal ones, these two, the causal ones, and 3, obviously the performer and the action. So again, very straightforward analogy, taking 2 sets of performances and their corresponding actions. For example, the relation between a soldier is to fight. Again, go with the obvious or the designated action of it guy. That's, for example, painter paint, soldier fight, scientist research, teachers teach, authors write, farmers plant or grow, mechanics repair, chef cook, surgeon cuts, tailor sews, and athletes run. So go with the main primary designated role or function of the performer. The final one, the degree one, as the degree, you can understand it in terms of it, two forms. It can be an increasing degree or a decreasing degree, but I've just covered in a degree as one. That can be of 2 forms, increasing or decreasing. Like analogy of type mostly consists of adjectives. And be careful. So this does not always mean that it's like have to be the case. For example, flat and skyscraper is not an adjective, okay, but the object magnified inside. So flats and many flats, will pick up other skyscraper. So tired and then exhausted is basically the adjective. So tired with a little increasing degree becomes exhausted. Warm and hot, okay, cold and freezing. I hope you're understanding. There's a very straightforward degree, and therefore I'm not elaborating it on a bit. However, other types of from general awareness that can be picked up is, so this is this animal category, okay, that you need to keep in mind. Animal and movement, animal and young ones, animals and sound, and animals, they are male and female pairs. Like kangaroos jump, but snakes slither, cow, calf, horse, colt, while what are the sounds? Lions roar while frogs croak, while elephants trumpet. Animal male, rooster is hen, while ram and ewe is for sheep. Currency and country, okay, these are the country ones which they can ask for, like Bangladesh, Taka, and they'll not give you, India and Delhi. I mean, they'll give you a challenging one, Ethiopia and Bir, probably some countries that you've never heard. Country and capital, Ghana, Accra, and island is Reykjavik. So countries and their capital. Then games and places of playing, for example, ice hockey happens in rink and cycling happens at velodrome. Okay, it can't be saying ground, so a good options. And then instruments and measurements like ammeter, current, bevometer is for soil. So bevometer is mechanical properties of the soil, is basically. So these types, so as I said, that all in all some 15 16 major classifications, and then animal kind 17 18, country kind 19, and then games and instruments. So crudely speaking, there are 20 types, out of which I believe 15 are these word ones, and these are general awareness. So you can just a bit of practice that you can do, and I think you can just ace this topic. Let's follow the next session. I think the analogies you would be waiting for. This is already I've given you a sheet. So if you have not, pause the video here, solve the sheet, and then look at it in this term. So as I said, poverty, prosperity. Now this is antonym pair, so I'll not need a clear word for it. So I'm just looking for the intelligence and stupidity. So answer to the first one will become Delhi. Stage and theater. Oh, now I need a word. So because see, if I just make a loose sentence and say, okay, stage is found in theater, so bedroom is found in house, car is found in road, patient is found in hospital, school is found in education. But this sentence is not helping me eliminate. So let's try to create a sentence which will help me filter on the wrong choices. So let's create a unique sentence, something like that. Okay, theater takes place at stage. Okay, does house takes place at bedroom? No. Road takes place at car? No. Hospital takes place at patient? No. Education takes place at school? Oh yes. And therefore Delhi, a good one. So it all depends upon how you constructed a sentence. Please remember, construct a sentence in such a way that it helps you eliminate most options, not agree to most options. Okay, then this was very simple. Tree and sapling, I think this is just the offspring of it. So tree and sapling will become horse and foal. Places, designated places to the person. Monk is in monastery, therefore nun is at convent. So easy one. So this is Bombay, this is C. Now, interesting one. So you'll have to construct a sentence, because in laboratory you find germs, in school you find students, in playground you find games, in library you found books, observatory you find planets. So everything makes sense. So let's say I'll have to construct a sentence in such a way that I'll say something like that. In laboratory we study germs. So in school we study students, no. In playground we study games, no. In library we look for books or we study books. Okay, cool. Observatory, planets is yes. So I think study, say I've narrowed it down to 2. Let's now try to modify and say, okay, laboratory is a designated place to study or observe germs. Okay, so library is not the designated place to study or observe books, therefore I cancel. So observatory is the designated professional place, where you can, where you can observe planets. See, books, library, you will find books, you can read for them, but this is not a designated place to observe or read books. Laboratory is a designated, you can't do it at home. I mean, you are not supposed to. So D. So be careful how you construct. So if you've narrowed it down, refine it, tune it. I think cool and frigid was a degree example. So cool to an extreming degree becomes frigid. So livid and lurid is not. Livid is extremely angry, lurid is not. Pole and placid is not. Tepid and torrid will become the correct one. Tepid means lukewarm. This lukewarm, and torrid means extremely hot. So this is lukewarm and hot, I think, is a perfect degree. Lack and abundant epitonyms, none of these. So C. Let's move to the next one. I think this was easy. This was animals and their movement. So lambs frisk. So cat is going to steal. Deer jump. Okay. So, okay, designated place of the game. Cricket to pitch, played in, and this is particularly a sport. So I think wrestling, track, and boxing ring. Try to eliminate. Okay, see, I'm canceling them, meaning I'm trying to eliminate them. Okay, ninth one. Coffee is an important beverage. So bread and butter goes out of the window. Milk tea, burger important snack. Okay, grapes important. Grapes used to make wine, but coffee is not. So category tha. So see, object and their category. Okay, object and their designated usage. So graphite scientifically used as lubricant. Movement friction. Iron designatedly used to make steel. No. Wool designatedly, the wool's the primary purpose, or let's say graphite, the most common usage is the lubricant, and wool most common usage is the cloth. So diamond are abrasive, but diamond, the most common usage is beauty and jewelry and so on and so forth. So I think abrasivity is not something that will apply. Okay, illiterate and synonym pair. So illiterate and uneducated, I think, is a synonym pair. So this is a synonym. So country and state, obviously not. City and village, no. Palace, hut, no. Vision site, absolutely yes. Okay, 12th interesting one. Duralium is the most important component of aircraft. Okay, most important component. That's my sentence. So brass is the most important component of alloy. Yes. Stone is the most important is the most important component of a sculptor. No. Iron the most important component of steel. You can say yes, but we are not again looking for scientific things. Bronze statue is absolutely gone, and so A. I think as aircraft without duralium is not possible. Alloy without brass is not possible. 13th, interesting, places again. So I created the sentence like this, that ribs protect lung, or you can say lungs fit into ribs. Okay, so ball is a sphere, but fingers and hand becomes the correct one. So fingers fit in hand, okay, as lungs fit in ribs. Okay, so lungs fit in ribs, so fingers in hands, or you can say obvious place, lungs will be obviously, inside ribs, and therefore fingers will be obviously inside hand. Net, shell, coat, tie is something that we'll not look at. So Bombay. Expend, repelish was the antonym pair, by the way. Okay, expend means to actually spend something, and repelish means to fulfill it, to fill it. So exhort and encourage is not going to be, because exhort and encourage are synonyms. Now, formant and rebellion is also not going to be. They are not connected, so not applicable to this question. Defect and rejoin is also, defect is a error, while rejoin is not applicable to this. Encroachment and occupy is also a synonym. So in this case, we'll go for none of the above, because this we were looking for an antonym pair, and none of the above is an antonym pair. They are not related. The B and C are not related to each other. Money and transaction. Okay, we need a sentence here, because you go for, if money is related to transaction, life is related to death, water is related to drink, ideas related to exchange, language is related to conversation. So we'll say for transaction, money is needed. For death, life is needed. Philosophically, drink water, we can drink Coca-Cola as well. Exchange ideas, we can exchange almost anything. For conversation, language is essential. So for transaction, money is essential. Therefore, for conversation, language is essential, and therefore I think an essential part of it will go with D. Last one, sphere and absurdity is an antonym pair. Okay, so C, tragedy and comedy will become an antonym. Overlook and aberration. Oh, this was an interesting one. It results in the thinking that overlooking, that is neglecting things, leads to aberration, which is things not doing their basic role. Okay, things not performing their basic duty. So neglect leads to this, and therefore mitigate leads to penitence. No. Condone and offense is perfectly fine, because condone is actually to be lenient. So to be lenient might lead to an offensive scenario, or might lead to an offense. So that kind of goes. So overlook leads to aberration. Similarly, condone leads to offense. Error doesn't lead to omission. Conviction doesn't lead to being criminal. So I think that is where 17th was very interesting. Mongoose and snake are the pair that particularly eat. So mongoose eats snake and crane eats fish. So I think this is clear. So I hope that is what the analogies stand for. Interesting, though. In my though in the lesson plan you'll also find word analogies, guys, and word analogies has good 500 words to practice, and all these have exercises with proper explanation. So this has some 13 exercises where, you know, kind of proper word analogy is given and proper explanation is given. The train comes from the trail of N replaced by L. So very interesting. I hope you solve these at least. Even if you have a crunch of time, go and solve as many as you can. I mean, just by practicing these, you will gain. As you remember, in my goal setting, I said that there are 4 areas which require practice, being syllogisms, critical reasoning, your vocabulary, and analogy. So this is also something that if you just practice a bit, I think it will really help you. That's all from my side. I hope, guys, you have watched all other videos and you have gained certain insight of it. Uh, I would love to hear from you. If you have any particular doubt or you want any guidance from me, find me on Telegram. That's all from my side, and that's also all from my side from the verbal lessons. I think just practice at them, practice these 4 key areas which I just told you about: syllogisms, critical reasoning, vocabulary, and analogies. And I think the rest of the chapters that you just watch my videos, do certain questions upon it, you will be fine. So thank you so much for watching all these sessions, guys. It was great experience teaching you, and I would love to talk to you if you have any queries upon it, if you have any conflicts, if you find my sessions helpful enough. Just I'd like to hear from you guys. So please reach me out on Telegram. Thank you so much. See you in my grammar sessions now.